You met Rowdy Piper?
Yes, I did.
Roddy Piper?
Yes, I did.
How the fuck did you manage to do that?
It was at a horror convention.
Did you box him in WrestleMania 3?
Yeah, no.
No, not exactly.
No, I challenged him to a street fight in an alleyway. And
boy.
I got my ass handed to me, but he
beat
said
you
hello anyway.
Did he beat you senseless?
Yeah. He was still a big dude when I met him. He was still very, very, very big.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I met him in Worcester.
Really?
Yeah, he was in like one of the first Rock and Shocks, the horror conventions. He was there. He was late because I guess he just had like spinal surgery, so he was still wearing the neck brace.
No shit.
He was late, and everyone was waiting. Like, he had the longest line. There was like Freddy Krueger was there, and Robert Englund, and a bunch of other people, but that line was crazy.
I can imagine.
I panicked. Like, there's not many people where I'm like, oh my god. That was him. And he saw it, and he's like, okay, calm down, you're good. And I was like, oh, he thinks I'm a fucking spaz.
You are a spaz.
I am a spaz. It's come to light. But then I was like, hey, thanks for always being a villain and entertaining me throughout my childhood. I've been watching you since I was little. And he goes, in spite of that, it looks like you turned out okay, kid. Have a good day. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was so excited. I have a picture.
Piper's rad.
He's very down to earth. I'll send you guys a picture after the podcast, but you can see the joy on my face. I have a smile ear to ear because he was just so rad.
Yeah, send me that picture of you and Piper, and I'll put it up on the screen for the people to see on YouTube.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah! I mean, not this instant, but get it to me
I'll
before. Get it to me so I can put it in post, and we can pretend. Oh, look at there it is.
Look at you're fancy.
Isn't this magical? Roddy Piper is such an interesting choice because he's a wrestler. Like, he comes from that world of wrestling. And he's just,
I'd say, which they have some acting, because, they're acting on television. But he looks pretty seasoned in this.
Their interviews, that's a whole thing. It's being a wrestler is very difficult. And it's in people say it's fake. I don't even know if I like even saying wrestling's fake anymore because it's as fake as anything, except an actual sport. It's
just staged. Nothing's fake because they still hit each other, still throw each other off like racks.
Destroy their fucking bodies, dude.
Yeah. Yep. And they do it for very, very low money unless you're a high end.
Like nowadays they get paid like something good. Back in the day, not so much, I'm told.
Yeah, like the whole thing with WWE was they had them as like self-contractors. Like they were freelance. So they couldn't that's how he set it all up, so they didn't get any insurance.
You're fired.
I do. One of the best episodes is when he runs into I think it was like Stone Cold. He runs into the ring, Vince McMahon, and hits his quads against the ring when he goes to jump in and severs both of them. On the
apron?
Yeah, he severs both of them. So the entire skit, he's laying on he's laying and sitting against the ropes.
He broke both his legs on the apron?
No, he tore his quad muscles jumping up on it. Like, he hit his quads against it and tore them both. And so the entire skit, he's laying on the ground and sitting on the ground screaming at Stone Cold, all while completely, overwhelmed with the pain of tearing both your quads at nearly 60.
There's a lot of crazy stories in wrestling. There's a whole series about crazy wrestling tales and dudes getting stabbed in locker rooms and shit.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Ring. I recommend. They're just funny, dude. They're such interesting people because they would wrestle like a couple hundred times a year. Think about how insane that is, and how much traveling they had to do. It's a crazy life. I've listened to all three of the wrestlers on Theo Von's podcast. Mm-hmm. I listened to Hogan, Ric Flair, who is hilarious. Ric Flair is insanely funny. And then I listened to Jesse Ventura, who just ranted about the conspiracies for 3 hours.
Jesus, that gets a little tiring for me.
Theo couldn't even get a word in. It was really funny. The steel to China. That was that whole bit.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Fucking Christ. He's nuts.
Wild. But
nuts.
Piper's Pit was a thing in wrestling, and then Piper's Pit became a podcast. So he had a podcast before he passed away.
Yeah.
And that was so unexpected and such a bummer because I found out about Piper's Pit, and I'm always interested in They Live, and I was a big wrestling fan as a kid. To say I watched much as an adult isn't true, although I do sometimes get nostalgic for one of those old events because they're really campy and funny. And
Nothing touches it.
I'm not one of those, like, I'm above wrestling people. Like, people who like wrestling, that's awesome. Like, that's cool. It's the same people. That's the same as like in Game of Thrones, as far as I can tell, right? They're both scripted entertainment.
Yeah,
one is for some people and one is for other people.
I never got the whole disdain. They're like, that's for kids. I go, yeah, but you're watching a show about make-believe dragons.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So where is your...
But it has adult themes.
Yeah.
But there's adult themes. Like incest. I always watch that on Pornhub. It's my favorite. Okay. If you say so. It's weird, but it's probably because you don't have a sister, you creep.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, if you had a sister, you would go, no, please,
Ew.
never.
Ew.
And the worst is you're like, man, they're both pretty hot. I kind of want to watch this. And everything's great right up until she says something like, you're the best big brother I've ever had, as she's wiping her mouth. So I can't get into it. But no, back to Roddy Piper. I understand he had quite a crazy life, man. And,
yes.
I mean, homeless, trying to get into wrestling as a teenager, doing anything he could to get in and just making it. He has a crazy story. And this is not going to be a Roddy Piper bio because I'm certainly not prepared to offer any major statistics on Roddy Piper, other than to say that he was such an entertaining guy in wrestling. And I really loved him in this movie. And I wish I could have seen him in more movies. And look, let's not get it twisted. He's not this incredible actor. He's not a thespian. But he's an entertainer. Sure. He's a performer. And I think the best part about They Live gets me to Jimmy Caan. I'm going to explain to you how.
All right.
I just watched Thief last night. I made Manja watch it for the first time. I couldn't shut up about it. It's just such a great movie. And I remember that interview with Jimmy Caan, and I've talked about this on the show a couple of years ago, where he was just saying, the best actors aren't acting. They're just being themselves, right? They're just sort of becoming that character. They're not trying to be somebody else. So I'm going to use all these examples to tie this back to Roddy Piper and They Live. So there's this movie called Midnight Ride that Maja made me watch. Okay. And I said, you made me watch Midnight Ride, so now you're watching Thief. Midnight Ride is a movie about movie starring Mark Hamill, and he's a hitchhiker, and he acts like a crazy person, and he's acting. And you're like, Mark Hamill's just acting crazy, and it's not great. It's actually quite bad. And you're like, it's Mark Hamill. He's not scary. B, when he's acting like a crazy person, he's just it's a put on. You get a feeling like he's just sort of bullshitting you.
Yeah, there's no genuineness to it.
And then you watch Jimmy Caan. As Frank and Thief, and you go, this guy's being himself. And I'm not saying he's a convict that did a decade, but there's an edge to him that you're never going to take out of him, much like Robert De Niro. And it's such a different... Comparing Jimmy Caan to Mark Hamill, number one, is not super fair. But my point is that one guy's pretending and one guy isn't. And I think that's super cool. And that's one of the things Jimmy Caan would always say. He was like, I'm just being me, with a little bit extra from this character. And I love that idea. He had there's a lot of great Jimmy Caan interviews about him acting. Somebody who I don't think gets enough credit for being a great actor. But with Roddy Piper, again, we're not going to compare him to Jimmy Caan, and we're certainly not going to compare him to Mark Hamill. But because Mark Hamill did a great job in the original Star Wars trilogy, right? Why? Because he was playing a clueless kid. Why? Yeah. Because he was a clueless kid.
Yeah. Because he wasn't acting. He was just clueless in general.
Exactly, right? So getting to Roddy Piper knows a bit about being homeless. Roddy Piper probably knows a bit about walking on the street, trying to find some work, trying to figure it out, knows enough to say things like, I have my own tools. Dude, when he said that, the hair stood up on the back of my neck in this movie. I have my own tools. And I thought to myself, dude, saying you have your own tools is akin to him really understanding what that means, what the value in that is.
Yeah, like his where he is in society, like his to get hired onto a day job, day labor. Well, I got my own tools. I'm ready to go. Because imagine during this time in that scene where there's transients everywhere, everyone's out of work. It seems like the middle class is eliminated It's either
it's
poor.
falling apart. In
Yeah.
fact, that's part of the great speech in this, which we're certainly going to listen to and really talk about.
Absolutely.
But no, it is. He's just a dude trying to get to work. He's just a guy trying to make it. And there's a real big part of me that just thinks, okay, he's not acting. And then you could say the same for Keith David, another guy I think is fantastic. Keith David just being a dude. He's just being himself. And they come across as really genuine, not trying anything too crazy, right?
Yeah, they just seem like blue-collar guys that you see at any construction site, and they do a good job of that. See, you and me have similar upbringings. We grew up with blue-collar fathers.
Right.
And I learned a great deal from my father.
Yep.
And he was not a day laborer, but as a mechanic and everything else he could do, he learned along the way. And he used to talk about this, how he would, see himself in this, like, when he started off being a truck driver and doing yard work and just trying to get enough money to go. It's something that at that time in the 80s was still something you could kind of do.
Yeah.
You could kind of day labor yourself away and kind of get enough money to get a car and then get a better job or more work in the same field.
Right.
It's a little different now.
Yeah, my dad, it's funny. There was a time where my dad had such a little amount of money that he wasn't sure he could run the heat. And it was the dead of winter. It was really cold. So he would chop down fucking wood and sell it.
Yep.
And then get money and then use some of that wood to throw into a wood stove that he was fortunate enough to have. And he drove truck too. And I remember being in the truck with him once, one of the things I remember about being in a rig was being up so high and looking at the top of cars. That was weird, right? But thinking back about my dad driving truck, he would drive to Florida every 2 weeks. And my mom and my dad split when I was about 1, but my dad was only 26 years old. My dad had a kid and he had to figure it out. My dad, in his dad, who we love and respect, and RIP to him, but it was a different time. He's a World War II guy. He got bombs dropped on him at Pearl Harbor, so he was harsh to my dad. And he would say shit like, "You're stupid. You're not smart." And that shit really got in my dad's head. So my dad, it hurts your confidence, right? But my dad wasn't going to be outworked. And my dad certainly picked up an amazing skill set along the way. So he was a guy who just was, huffing shingles. Next thing you know, he's framing houses. Next thing you know, he's building houses. Next thing you know, the guys are like, "Here, you pay the guys. Dean, you pay the men." So now Dean, my dad's getting a cut and he's paying. Now my dad's suddenly a contractor. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I'll tell you this about my dad, and this goes to this shit right here with Roddy Piper. These types of men. My dad never was a guy who sat in a trailer. Never was a guy who sat in his truck. Never was a guy who's like, "All right, you guys do this. I'm going fishing." Fucking never. He just told me the other day. He said, "You know how hard it is walking by that pond every day when all I wanted to do was go fishing, and I knew I couldn't, and I had to fucking work." Yep. And yeah, because so part of it. It's funny. I really understand my dad as I get older because I understand part of that wanting things to be done the right way in doing it and doing the work and not being like, "Oh, I'll just give all this material to somebody else to fix and edit. I can't do it. I can't let it go. I have to work on it." Yeah. And it's funny. He was very much the same way. He was on the roof. He was framing houses. He would carry the fucking shingles. And it's just that breed of dude, the everyman. I don't even know if everyman's right, but this character, this what's his name? John Nada?
John Nada. John Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. John Nada. They don't really get into it much, but yeah, he's just a dude trying to get through, and it seems like he had a rough childhood. And wears a wedding ring, and we don't know what's up with that. But I made different choices than my dad. Maybe because I was a little bit more fearful, but here I am at 47. I don't have any kids. I'm not going to have kids. And that's okay. But my dad had 4 by the time he was my age. So it's like, you got different, you have a shorter list of options. You got to work, and
you can't
pay
take
child
a week
support
off
for me and shit.
Yep.
So
yeah,
there's a lot. He had to do a lot. And, next thing you know, you flip a house, you make some money, you buy a second house, you get into real estate when you start hitting mid to late 50s, and all that work starts paying off, and it's really fucking cool. And that's not this story, but shout out to my dad because he's the fucking shit.
Hell yeah.
And And yeah, a lot of what we have are from these men, and that's just the fact. And I know it's an unpopular thing to say, but these fucking dudes who went to work for 60 hours a week and built houses, every house you're in, some motherfucker built. Every building you're in, somebody built. All that pavement you're on, some motherfucker laid it down. And it's cool that a guy like John Nada gets his due, because even though he sacrificed in the end, you could argue he saves the fucking world from this banality, from the crushing weight of this oppression, through his example, through a guy who just gets really pulled into this crazy situation out of fucking nowhere.
Yep. Some random thing.
That's
it's not
my
like
rant.
He's not a freedom fighter. He's not anything. He's a guy who's just trying to put in the hard day's work and get a legitimate day's pay. And he gets swallowed into this situation by happenstance, which is cool. It's not like he's like, he's not wearing a Che Guevara shirt like, oh, revolution, man. He's just a guy. They're all down on their luck. And that's one thing this movie really capitalizes on, and it gets the whole feeling of the late 80s, which is like we have this great divide between the haves and the have-nots. And
because we're starting to run into real disposable income time period for a lot of people, right?
For a lot of people.
People were buying houses. My grandfather was a school teacher. And I know there are some school teachers making 70, 80K, especially in Massachusetts, but my grandfather was a school teacher. My grandmother worked at the Registry of Motor Vehicles and worked at night in an insurance company, and they bought a house and bought cars and everything else. Man, that's hard these days.
Yeah,
your
can't
price,
do that.
your real estate price compared to what you're making is a very different game in 2023. Let me tell you, as somebody who practices real estate as well, because I have to do 50 fucking things to eat, but it's a nightmare, dude. It's a nightmare. It's tough. So hard working dude. I know a guy's 2 jobs. He's working constantly, and he's like, maybe you can buy a house, but probably not. You might need another person in with you. But
it's very difficult. Now, my grandfather came back from World War II on my mother's side. He was shell shocked, but him and his father, they had a construction business. They, laying brick and building houses. And then like your grandfather, all of a sudden he was a contractor, but he was so broken from World War II, so he drank most of his money away. But he'd buy houses, flip them, build them, rebuild them, and a lot of there's like 2 sections in my town that were all built by my grandfather.
It's pretty cool.
So it's really rad, and I grew up around that, so I really look at this movie and see people I grew up with in it. And John Nada.
It's cool, man. Me too. That's a great way to say it. You see people you grew up with or looked up to as a kid. That's why he's so likable and so easy to just like. And you could say, well, he's not super charismatic. He's not, but nah, man. There is something really genuine about Piper's performance in this. And to tie it all back to this beginning of this crazy rant we got on, is that it has so much to do with him being the guy he is and not trying to be something he isn't. He's just, and that's just fucking cool. And I was thinking about this. I know romanticizing the past can sometimes be dangerous, but especially as somebody who's interested in history. But I will say this. I'm trying to think of this character archetype now. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure somebody can point it out to me in maybe movies I don't see, because I don't really watch Marvel. But I wonder, is John Nada still around, right? Even John Wick is an accomplished assassin who's highly skilled with all his money. It's not like he's some fucking bricklayer who's suddenly popular. Yeah. But I wonder, one of the good things and bad things about The Lost Drive-In is the good thing is that we can sometimes have these off-the-cuff conversations that are quite enjoyable to discuss, and I'm sure great to listen to as well. But also, I don't always anticipate this because I would love to have a list of those movies in front of me right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm really curious. You know who I was thinking about though, because I'll shout out the ladies. Fuck yeah, fucking ladies. Fuck yeah. You know who the common woman is?
Who?
You might want to say Ripley, but it's not, because Ripley's a fucking pilot.
She's a scientist.
She's skilled.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking about a regular working stiff.
Roseanne?
No. Sarah Connor in the first movie. She's a working stiff. She's a waitress. That's all she does. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I got a fucking silly day job too outside of real estate, you know. Podcast is my third gig. But this shit here is that's her. Now, Terminator 2, she's not. She's very much different. She's paramilitary trained killer.
She's been training in the 10 years she's been.
I would liken John Nada to Sarah Connor in Terminator 1.
Yeah, not the
somebody
hero.
who gets thrown into this, right?
Yes,
because
yes.
But we see her grow as the movie goes on. That movie is more interested in Reese keeping her alive and her sort of on the run, trying to learn and grow. She ultimately kills the Terminator at the end of that movie. If you haven't seen it,
yeah,
kidding, you've seen it.
Get on it if you haven't.
And it might be a weird comparison, but I'm just thinking about that as an idea. Even John Rambo, he's not that guy. He might have been, but he comes back from Vietnam and he's this elevated to new heights Green Beret killing machine, right? Yeah. Who are the normal dudes? Who are the normal ladies? Who are the normal lads and ladies? I got two off the top of my head. The one we're talking about, John Nada, and I've got Sarah Connor in T1. But I think about that a lot. Just people who are thrown in these crazy situations.
Yeah, and perform. And with no, I'm going to save the world. No, it's just they keep getting thrown into these situations that get worse and worse, and they rise to the occasion and conquer or become successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's really something, you're definitely right. That's something lost today because everyone's perfect all the time now. No one has
maybe,
really
I don't
arcs.
know. I say that. I want to be careful not to indulge too much in that wide net that I routinely cast, because if I put it under scrutiny, I'm not sure it holds up to reasoning. So I'm not saying I'm confident in saying that, but I think there might be some truth in that. Like a character like John Nada, is that something in a modern movie? Has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played that guy? I mean, outside of being giantly huge, is Vin Diesel that guy in Fast and Furious? I don't know. These are movies I haven't seen, so I don't know. I would imagine a Fast and Furious movie could be about regular people who get. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So.
They're all like a gang. They start off as like a gang of like street racers, so they're already not the average guy.
They're already cool people. They're
already like racing, and it's. They don't have a character arc like this. They don't have a guy who just gets caught up in something and then he rises to the occasion. They're already good at what they do. And I think that's what I'm saying is lacking in today's thing. I like that character growth. I don't see a lot of it now. I'm sure there is some out there because there are so many movies being made all the time, but nothing like this that was like wide scale. Like, seeing someone grow, getting kind of caught up and thriving. Now everyone seems to, at least in the movies I've seen, everyone seems to be good at what they do right off the bat, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of new movies. There's not a ton of them that interest me, but I don't know. Are you seeing any over there? I'm looking to the producer's booth.
So I tried to look it up, and there's a couple, but I haven't seen any of these, so I can't say. There's one called Greenland with Gerard Butler from 2020.
Okay, what's it about? What? Can you tell us anything about it?
It's some kind of apocalyptic disaster film.
Okay, yeah, like just a regular dude like that.
I assume so. Then Upgrade, 2018.
I saw Upgrade.
Oh.
Yeah, except he gets upgraded.
Okay.
That's the point of the movie. He gets some kind of like, I think I covered that on Real Quick.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, back in the day, the old defunct podcast. Yeah.
Then there's the Kingsman movies, but I don't think that counts either because he gets trained into...
Those guys are martial arts fucking doohickey people.
Yeah, he starts out as just a normal kid, but then he gets trained, so I don't think that counts.
I don't know.
Then there's...
I'm talking like a blue collar job, give me a fucking, I don't know.
Bricklayer,
here's one. How about Jamie Foxx in Collateral? He's a cab driver.
That's cool. Yeah, because he rises to the occasion.
That's a great movie, by the way.
That's a fantastic movie.
And Tom Cruise is a fucking assassin. Good. He's scary as shit in that movie. But no, and Jamie Foxx is that guy. That's pretty cool. But no, I don't know. Listen, it's very difficult in the moment to sort of think of these things, and I'm sure people will post on our socials and say,
of course.
No, what about this guy? And that's great. So let us know, because I'm trying to think of this whole idea. This guy has no job. He asks his way onto a site because he's walking around with a sleeping bag. I mean, he's walking around wearing work boots, a fucking flannel. He's just a dude doing his thing. Yeah. And then he gets tired. And I'm not talking about, when I say I'm sure there's plenty of drama movies about regular people doing regular shit. Like, oh, Mike's a cement mixer, his dad has cancer. Those movies I never watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Lifetime.
something sci-fi related or action or
Action based.
Even horror. I mean, I guess horror is probably most common, but they're usually not the featured acts. It's usually the killer. But no, I don't know. It's there is. I just like this homage by Carpenter to this type of character who gets pulled into this wild situation, and it starts early. And that's the coolest thing about this movie. He walks into town. We see these homeless camps. He meets what's his name? Frank.
Yep.
I'm getting confused because Jimmy Cahn's Frank as well in the other thing. And in this homeless camp is just crazy. There's all these people hanging out. It's shades of San Francisco today, you know?
Yeah, they're being taken care of by help, like just like the church. They're all being fed and they get like hot showers. And the way they frame this movie is that this is happening everywhere. That the poor and underclass are kind of being relegated to poor towns, and it's the juxtaposition of the super wealthy and the people who have nothing. It's kind of like today's society
100%.
as we're seeing that now. As this was when it started, really. The 80s was kind of when our wages didn't go increase with inflation. We had this capital. America was making so much money, and it still was only being taken by a certain amount of people and leaving a lot of people without opportunity. And I love this movie now because it does play into today. You could release this movie just as today, and it would still make sense to people as it did in 1986.
That's the hope, right? And it's funny because we have a fun and might I say hilarious bonus companion that we've already recorded to this, where we actually answer some trivia questions about this movie that Maja put together, which leads to some hilarious moments and great conversation. And where was I going with this? One of the things we talked about was its place in the world a little bit, but we won't skimp out on the conversation here, because I think that's the thing. I think we talked about Carpenter's ability to send messages and for them to ring true with anybody who's not super politically compromised by either the left or the right, and I like that idea that so many of these ideas, the division, the middle class shrinking. That's one of the things they talk about in that. And that's a real problem today. I just was talking to you about how difficult it is for somebody to buy a house.
Yes.
And how there's this whole idea, this whole initiative about how owning property is dumb anyway. And, oh, don't worry about it. Who cares? But no, man, it's an interesting shift in the United States of America, because in the United States of America, a lot of it was, you were talking about like, what's it going to be like to go and get your own property and blah, blah, blah. And now it's not, nobody really talks about that anymore. Well, it's this sort of, because it's very difficult, to do. And
it's
B,
a lot.
I think we've all become more insular in our very, very specific groups, right? We're very insular now compared to what we used to, compared to what we are, compared to what we used to be.
Yes, I think something, without getting on too much political bullshit, but I think even then, and up until I was about 25, people who, if you were on either side, you could reach and shake hands in the middle and kind of find out, well, I like some of the things your guy's doing, but my guy's doing whatever. Or what I believe is okay. And what you believe is not what I believe, but it's okay for you to have that. And we've completely lost that cordial.
It's really bad, because there are people now who are like, I don't talk to my uncle anymore. Or I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying this is what you hear. Yeah, I don't talk to my uncle anymore. Or I don't talk to my dad anymore because he voted for X.
Yeah,
it's like, really?
Yeah.
Your family is less important to you than a guy, left, right, red tie, blue tie, who doesn't give a flying fuck about you. You let him pull you away from your father instead of just talking? And the father might be just as guilty for being an idiot too. I'm not saying it's on one or the other. It's just this allowance for division. But the ultimate tool of the authoritarian is to divide and conquer. So that's always going to be the case. It's always been the case. But
it's look left and right, now look up. So it works really well against our people. But it's,
and that's the point, and that's the great point of this movie, is that what I love about the idea of this movie is that people have to stay asleep. That's very important. If people become privy to what's going on here, then there will be hell to pay. That seems to be the premise, and that's it. I feel like that idea maybe has shifted a little bit, right? Because now it's all about saying. Once upon a time, it seemed to be that the case was if people learn about what the powers that be are doing, they will unite against us. And that's one thing the government can't have. The government requires that adversarial effort, because if the people come together and go, oh no, they're fucking all of us, because really at the end of the day, we all kind of want the same shit. But they they put these ideas in our head to have us fight over this other shit. But the reality is if they come together, we're fucked.
That was the original plan, was to keep you asleep. Unfortunately, technology has moved forward so rapidly that they no longer can keep things from us. So what they decided to do was change the way they play the game, was to turn us inwards against each other, so that they still, even though they're doing everything that they've been doing forever, when we see it, we don't care.
Well,
we're
now
in our little camps. We're in our little camps now. We turn on each other.
Because now it's Scott. What Scott says is literally stupid and evil. And anyone that listens to him is also stupid and evil and hates you. And by the way, whatever Dean says is stupid and evil. And the things people listen to him are stupid and evil. So it's this great way to create division, because like you said, once information became at everyone's fingertips, a new game had to be played. I wonder how the They Live aliens would adjust in the future, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why are you laughing at me?
No, I'm just instantly picturing like a social media, like a influencer model. That's what those women are.
Yes.
They have those faces underneath.
That's what they are. The influencers. Yep.
They're shills.
Yeah.
They're your charlatans.
It's such an interesting phenomena that we'll read a headline and go, I fucking had a feeling, I knew it, and look no deeper. Not only do we not read the article, we don't look at who wrote the article, so we don't know about his bias or her bias.
Yeah, confirmation
we just
bias.
we read an article and go, of course that's the truth. I want to believe that's the truth. Do you know why I want to believe it, Scott? And this gets back to giving people a little bit of a break, because I'm not trying to pretend I'm above everybody. And do you know why they go, yep, that's probably true? Do you know why they believe it so easily?
Why?
Because they got shit to do.
Yeah.
I hope. I hope it's because they need to go to work, and I hope it's because they're trying to feed their kid. I hope it's because they're trying to have enough money to whatever the fuck or whatever you're working for, you know, if anything.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you know, they just released that they might be aliens, and everyone went, who cares? I can't feed my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's very distracting. You can't really worry about your head in the clouds when you're down in the dirt.
It's funny you say that. That gets back. That's the hierarchy of needs, right?
Yes.
It's funny because we almost see John Nada go through his little hierarchy of needs. He's like, I need a job. I got a job. I got this place where I'm staying. I have shelter. I suddenly have food. And then now I'm thinking of higher purpose, right?
Yeah.
First things first, right?
Shower, food, and a place to sleep without getting robbed. Okay, cool. I'm good. Oh, wait, there's aliens? All right, now I'll take care of that too.
Yeah, there is aliens for sure. And we're sort of beating around the bush here. So why don't we listen to the messaging in this picture that
absolutely
that the resistance, we'll call them, is trying to fight against. Here we go.
Things giving me a headache.
Yeah, tell me about it. Us took the hackers months to figure out how to do this.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain.
I want to pause right here because, goddamn, this is prophetic.
Yeah.
Every piece of this dialogue, which, by the way, is just fantastic. This writing is great. But every piece of this is sharp. They have, and by the way, they should be just considered, obviously they're talking very specifically about these aliens that control people, but it can just as easily read the establishment.
Yeah, it
Right.
really is, because the aliens are the establishment.
Stop thinking it's this color or that color, and start thinking it's all of them. Because that's what he says. They've turned us against each other. They've made us unwitting accomplices. They've put us into a trance. Well, how do they do that? Easily. That cell phone that you can't put down, I'm guilty of it too. This thing right here, that's your trance. You can't fucking get away from that thing. They've made us interested only in our own gain. Well, yeah, sure. If you put people in a desperate position, they're going to have to try to be out for themselves because they're trying to fucking survive. And not just that, but getting back to Imagis about those social media influencers being they live aliens, that's the lure. The lure is, so if I put my name, look at me, we got a fucking podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping somebody retweets me that's big enough to where I can go, I can take a breath of fresh air now. Finally, after 10 years, I get a little boost that I need. You know what I mean? And I'm not desperate for it because I refuse to be that way. But there are times where you're hopeful.
Of course.
And just like in this, we are only looking out for our own self-interest, which is not. I mean, let's get real. That's not some deep philosophical statement. That's true the world over for as long as we've been alive.
Everyone is like that when you get down to the nitty-gritty.
But applying that to today's world is interesting. That idea of a me society, selfies, all that shit. Look at me. Scroll through on Instagram. How many pictures do people post of themselves? Think of how weird that would have been for me to say to you in 1995. If I was in high school and I said to you, have you seen what this guy does? He puts his camera on a tripod. He takes a bunch of pictures of himself and he puts them all over the place. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that would sound strange back then.
It's such a weird idea. But the amount of pictures I've taken of myself in the last 5 years compared to the first 35 years of my life is astounding. And that's just a measure of technology and what it does to you. That's the lure they're talking about. There is a lure here, and we're all desperate for meaning, and meaning is very important. And I think that's part of the great thing about this movie, because John Nada is, like we talked about, maybe the hierarchy of need starts to get settled. Suddenly he has a higher purpose, meaning. Meaning is very important, and sometimes if we get enough likes, we feel like there's some sort of meaning in our world, but there isn't. It's just a dopamine hit that quickly fades, and then it just ramps up the next time and up the next time. And
well, see, that's a kind of a microcosm of our society, because you used to be able to spend your time learning a craft and building something and building something from it, a business or what have you, that gave you meaning, a purpose. How
about just a doghouse?
Or
build anything.
Anything. I mean, like, even if you
build a fucking meatloaf.
Anything.
Jesus Christ, we can't do anything anymore.
We don't do anything because we have to work so much. We don't get enough time to hone our craft. We had this conversation, me and my friends, about how, like, why is there no Raphaels, no Davids? I meant no Michelangelos now. They go, because we have to work 60 hours just to keep our bellies fed and the lights on. We don't get time to develop the craft.
I think about that because I don't want to take anything away from what are likely great artists, great creators, and such. But I do sometimes wonder about that. I think it's funny because in the late 80s, when this movie takes place, right, we're really starting to get into some deep consumerism in the mall, in the outdoor mall, in the shop here, in the
credit
major
cards,
dude.
Yep.
We are long-term optimistic and short-term pessimistic, right? That's how the credit card survives. We're short-term optimists, but we always have this idea, and I am very guilty of this sometimes. And I don't have some crazy amount of credit card debt. I don't. But we're all guilty of this, but in the future I'll have more money and I want the thing now. Right? That's that experiment with the kids and the marshmallows, and can the kid not take one marshmallow now to take 3 marshmallows in 3 hours? And the kids that were able to hold back ended up being more successful 20 years later. That crazy experiment, right? It's that delayed gratification thing. It's very difficult for us. And credit made it like, I'll buy a fucking Amiga right now, dude. I can't wait to play Defender with a crown on my new
Hell yeah.
Amiga with my new MasterCard. Let's go. And then the guy calls. He's like, you owe this plus 26% interest.
Damn.
So, how do I default on this?
Yeah, right?
So,
But that's the thing is it's our world has changed so much, and I think we have, like what people do now, what people do for us when they support us financially.
yeah.
It gives us more time to work on what we like to do. We release more episodes. We can get better equipment. We can do that. They're being our patrons.
Yeah.
And your Michelangelo was he was patronized. Someone paid for his daily goods. Everything he needed in the day was paid for, so he could just focus on becoming an artist, being better at his craft. If we had more of that now, that's why you don't see so much. I mean, the only thing in artistic ways we see that are growing is like multimedia stuff. You see a lot of movies, a lot of music. Everyone can get their own hands on cameras now. They can get their hands on audio equipment. It's not crazy, and you can make your own stuff. But imagine being groomed by someone who was like a carpenter and had you 10 years old teaching you stuff,
etc.
Yeah, and you became an apprentice, and by the time you were 30, you were so good that you were hand carving desks and things, and that gave you purpose in life, and you made money, and you were set for life. That doesn't exist anymore. We have to work shit jobs just to keep the lights on, and kind of devote 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day, maybe even less, to what we actually like to do to get, to find fulfillment in our daily lives.
It's what John Vervecchi calls the meaning crisis, right?
Yeah.
A great speaker. I highly recommend listening to him. You'll understand about 25% of what he says, and then you'll listen 3 more times, and then you'll maybe be up to 50%. Very smart guy. But he has a lot. He talks a lot about this meaning stuff and what it all comes down. He's deep philosophical mind, and that's what it comes down to. It's just about meaning. I think I think that one of the traps that people face now is they work really hard, and it's difficult to have much to show for it, because back in the day you could work really hard and, okay, I'm going to get this thing. I think I can get a house for my family, and suddenly my family gets bigger, et cetera, et cetera. And it does seem less common, or even less of a goal for people now. Like, it's not that important anymore. Again, and we're talking largely from an American perspective. I don't know.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
Different cultures do it differently. And but it's a changing time. It's interesting to think about 1988. They live the height of consumerism, and there's part of that makes sense. A bunch of people who couldn't buy things before suddenly can, and now they indulge in that, and they have fun, and they do coke, and they make great music, and they fucking do all kinds of crazy shit. But meaning is a thing, and that's where I want to talk about Frank versus John, because Frank refuses to look. Did you have something you wanted to say? Frank has something. Frank refuses to look into the glasses. Do you know why he refuses?
Because he doesn't care. He's got too much to deal with already.
Because he knows he knows the truth. He doesn't want to face the truth, and that's interesting. And Keith David's great in this role. I love this guy, by the way.
Yeah. He's in so many good movies.
He's in so many movies. Keith David refuses to look into the glasses, not because he thinks John's crazy, but because he doesn't want to confront the reality of what that would suddenly mean for him.
Yes.
I understand Frank.
Yes.
Very, very much.
What do you want to do? Do you want to know that everything's terrible? Do you want to know how much corruption's going on? Yes, we already know that. You and me know that. Everyone knows that.
Dude, but I'm talking even on a small, stupid scale.
Well, here's the thing. With even with this, take any scale. We already know there's corruption. We already know things are a problem. And some people do one or two things. One, they let it consume them, and then they have to be completely activists all the time. They're always looking at the negative part of life. And then there's the other people who are kind of like, yeah, I know shit's bad, but I'm just trying to get home to my kids, and I want to cook them a nice dinner and talk about our day. There's nothing. Either or is not wrong, but it's not burying your head in the sand to kind of just want to keep your head off that stuff. It's kind of trying to find your bliss in life and stick with it. And
Right.
some people can do that, and some people have to go out and everything's an injustice, everything's terrible, we're being screwed over. But what kind of standard of living are you giving yourself when you do that?
Right.
You're going to be pissed off all the time? And I think that's one of the things why Frank doesn't want to look in there. He knows this is going to happen. He just wants to put his time in, get his kids, go back to Detroit, get his kids, be successful, take care of his children and his family, and that's it. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to learn that there's aliens that have infiltrated the government and they're taking over, because he already kind of feels it on some sort of level. There's something going on.
And do you know what else that means? If he looks through the glasses, he will suddenly be compelled to act.
Yes.
Right? He knows
becomes
the
real.
second, 100%. And not just it becomes real, but now I'm involved. Frank is a good human. One of the first things Frank does for John is he says, "You got some place to stay?" It's like Save a White Boy Day,
Yeah, right.
He sees this poor fucking white dude sitting on the car, and he's like, "Hey, must be fucking White Boy Day." He's like, "You can go down to this." I think he gives him a shelter spot, or I guess the homeless camp. He's like, "You can go down to this place." And blah. So he's a good man. And the second a good man looks through those glasses, he's going to be compelled to act. So he just doesn't want to look.
Doesn't want to deal. And here's another thing about Frank when you think about it. After he finds out that John had shot up the fucking bank and murdered a bunch of people, he still,
Are you crazy?
He still hands him a week's of pay. Go, here, get the fuck out of here. Like, that's all I can do for you. He's that good. He knows this dude murdered a bunch of people, and he still goes, hey, here. I'm washing my hands of it. I can't do anymore, but I'm at least helping. That shows so much about his character that he's willing, that he knows this dude just murked a bunch of people. Now, they're aliens, but he doesn't know that.
Could you see Frank being like, man, what'd they do? Right. They deserve that shit, right? Man, what those guys do to you, man? What they do to you? Because right's right. You earned your pay. You shouldn't kill people, but you should get paid. It's a funny morality where you'd think withhold the pay from the killer. Maybe that's a different type of morality, something a little more absolute. But
I'm not going to let him get away.
That's funny, man. But I think Frank's a good man, and I think the second Frank looks, he's compelled to act.
He's
so
involved.
Why look? And listen, I'm not saying I'm some kind of good man or I'd be compelled to act, because God knows I see a lot of the horseshit that goes on, which is one of the reasons I'm very strict on the boards about being apolitical. I'm trying to keep a place for people to retreat to. Because they are bombarded by it constantly. Yes. But that's not my point. That was just a side comment to suck my own cock for a minute. The real comment is this. Dude, there are times where I think to myself, I'm delaying doing a thing because I know what I'm going to put into that thing because I want that thing to be done right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, absolutely.
That, do you ever have that when you start thinking like, oh, I could power wash the deck? Yes, but then if I power wash the deck, I'm going to stay in the deck and I'm going to get the coats and I'm going to buy it. And I just start mounting up all of this stuff. And then I'm like, I'm just not going to fucking look at the deck right now. Because then I'm going to be compelled. I can't just do the thing. I do the 50 things, right? I can't just buy Street Fighter, right? Because then I got to buy the tournament stick for $200. I got to buy the thing. I'm probably going to get I'm probably going to pay a little extra for the extra characters when they drop. Then I'm going to have to do practice sessions. Then I'm going to obsess about being good at it. It's like, it's fucking crazy. So sometimes it's like, no, just don't do the thing. Just don't do that. You think, dude, if I bought candy, I'd be a dead man. If I bought candy, I would die because I would just eat it all. It's just, so for me, it's a weird measurement, self-control problem. But I think Frank is just a good dude who doesn't want to be compelled to have to get involved.
Right? Doesn't want to know that like there's some ulterior thing going on underneath society. And I don't blame him. How
hard did Frank work to get where he is?
Yeah.
Why does he want to fuck it up now?
Yeah,
like
why do you want...
He wants to get his kids. Why do you want to follow a crazy white guy?
Well, and also,
to get yourself fucked up.
Nada is so insistent in that some people balk at that. Like, what do you want me to see? I don't want to see it. Whatever you want me to see, it must be terrifying or it must be awful. I don't want to see. And I don't blame him for that.
Yep. And there could be a principle there too, because that's another thing that I would imagine is you are being so... You are being such a tyrant about this that now I'll never look in those glasses.
Yes.
Right? There's that part of Frank too. He's like, because you are trying to force this on me so badly, I will not do it. You'll have to put him on my head in my casket.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
going. Fuck you. I'm never putting the glasses on. And which the great fight scene. You know, I think so much about the fight scene in this movie that I always think of it as actually. Let me pause on the fight thing because I want to actually continue playing this audio clip. But don't let me forget about we won't forget about the fight. It's 20% of the movie.
It's one of the best ever.
I'm going to fire the clip back up so I can find this in Never Neverland when I'm editing. So and then we'll continue this broadcast.
Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
They're pulling the water out of the sand like sponges.
Blow it out your ass.
It seems like a silly comment, but the Drifter, or Buck as he's known, he says, blow it out your ass. Why?
They just don't care.
Dude, this is Buck, whatever the fuck his real name is. We'll call him Buck. Buck is homeless. Where's he at in the hierarchy of needs?
Shelter? He's trying to get shelter?
He doesn't want to deal with this shit. He's a step below Frank. Frank's working. Buck's not working. He doesn't want to hear about these lofty pursuits, man. He's got shit to do. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which it's almost as if, bear with me, dear listener, that it was designed that way.
Well, yeah.
If we set up this game to where the average individual makes about this much money and they have to work this many hours because if they don't have health care. And then when they got to get that lump looked at, they're in real fucking trouble. Or if they need a tooth pulled, they're fucked, right? You got to work so fucking hard for the few bucks that you got that you don't got time to think about these lofty pursuits. You don't got time to peek behind the curtain and see what the establishment's up to. Who's got time for that shit, right? That's why
designed.
Activism is such a young person's thing because often they have that time, right?
Yeah, they don't have to make a house payment and the bank comes for their house,
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Maybe they do, but by and large, I think if you started to poll those people, you'd see you'd see some repeating trends, let's just say.
Yeah. And there's a couple things about this scene that I wanted to touch on where the signal causes disorientation to the people.
Yes.
When they break through the signal to show on the television that they're hijacking the signal, you see the people that are watching television kind of get like woozy. They're like, "Oh, Daddy, my head hurts," and it's something that it's something you see more and more as the movie goes on. But there's like this signal going out that kind of keeps you asleep, kind of keeps you unaware of what's really happening.
Indeed.
And there's another part of this where John looks over while the TV is on and the man is doing his speech. The bearded man he's listed as.
Bearded man, yeah.
He's the one on the television. The street preacher is mouthing the speech. So the preacher is in on it somehow. And John sees that. He's like, how does this guy know what the guy on the television is saying? So that piques his interest right off the bat and then kind of gets this ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Nada cannot. Nada is he can't not. He has to know. He has to push, right?
He's not. Frank.
He confronts Gilbert. He confronts everybody. He's like, running choir practice pretty late. I mean, just to dude out with it instead of keeping his mouth shut. You're on their turf. He doesn't care. He's compelled to speak because he's a different type of guy, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
And he, like I said, he's not Frank. Frank wants to bury his head in the sand and kind of just go about his life. Where he doesn't have this. John Nada doesn't have that about his personality. He's really inquisitive. He's like, why does that preacher know this? Why is, what's going on? Why is Gilbert having choir practice at 10 o'clock at night?
Indeed. Some of the sentiments expressed in this movie, and I'll run through them real quick. They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful. They have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Our owners, they have us. They control us. Wake up, they're all around you. Our human spirit is corrupted, indeed, right?
It's funny. It's like this was made in the 80s and it very, very hits home today in 2023.
Yep.
There's
That's the brilliance.
That's what makes this movie. This movie's timeless. If you didn't have Roddy Piper, if you were to redo this movie shot for shot and put someone from today in it, it would still ring true. It would still, if you were to use it, you could, use it to kind of get kids motivated about learning about what's really going on.
I wonder if you could make a movie like this today without corrupting it with some political bias. I think it'd be hard pressed to.
Yeah, it'd be very hard.
Here's another great line. When they're watching the TV through that guy's window, the woman on the TV says, "Sometimes when I watch TV, I stop being myself. I'm a star. All I ever have to do is be famous. People watch me and they love me, and I never grow old and I never die." Right? That narcissistic bullshit.
Yep.
Much of us are infected with now.
Yes, which is all your not all your celebrities, but a good amount of the celebrities are very, very vapid, very like.
Dude, forget celebrities. Most people that are just selfing and just running their mouths,
Yeah.
Not deep, meaningful shit like LSG Media. I'm talking about the real vapid cunts.
Hey, we're getting into it. We're not just talking about wrestling.
I'm just fucking around.
We're doing okay.
I gotta take myself down a little bit sometimes.
That's all right. No, you don't.
So
the world does that enough.
You ain't kidding. The transmission, I'm going to quickly run through it. Our impulses are being redirected, 100%. Where are our impulses being redirected today? Can we answer that question? Pornography. Let's start there.
Consumerism. Yeah.
Buying shit, pornography, dude, you name it. And I'm not saying I'm not some fucking right-wing porn is the devil shit. I think probably, if you're 14 and you're watching 3 dicks go into an asshole, it's probably bad for you growing up.
It's not really setting you.
It's probably not great for you. It's probably not great for you.
Your baseline.
I'm not convinced. I am always of the opinion that however much, just like I'm not going to blame video games for violence and I'm not going to blame fucking rap singing for some dude getting shot in the street, I'm certainly not going to blame people for being shitty relationship people because of pornography. But it's the individual that doesn't govern that just goes too deep, that doesn't know when to pull back, right? Mine's just leaning towards the mic, like it may have. Okay, she's like, oh God, no. Our impulses are being redirected all over the place.
To content.
To
fill our minds with content instead of having independent thoughts.
Yeah. In other words, like a podcast spewing a bunch of shit into your ear holes.
Sleep.
Yep. It's true.
It's true. But it is definitely being redirected. I think we've pushed away from like traditional values as far as like family, whatever you have about the rest of the world. But I mean, like you for example, you sit down with kids today and they're on their phones while they're trying to have dinner. We weren't allowed to watch TV.
That's where I love old school immigrants, dude.
Yeah.
Old school immigrants will not stand for that shit. You talk to you fucking try that shit. Try that shit in front of a Portuguese, a fucking Mexican, an Italian grandma. No fucking way, dude.
No, my Russian grandma would have slapped me in the face and threw my phone against the wall.
Skull, take your phone outside before I kick you in tits. Is that your grandmother would say to you?
They were harsh ladies.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. Watch a bunch of people with their crane necks looking at their phone walking around like fucking zombies, right? Mm-hmm. They did it. They do it in 2023. They did it in 2013. They did it in 2003. They did 2003. They did it in 1993. And they fucking did it in, I don't know why I'm going threes. But
they're just getting better at it.
Yep. The poor and the underclass are growing faster now than ever. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. Yeah. They have created a repressive society. I mean, hello. And we are their unwitting accomplices. That part is interesting because I think we're unwitting. I think we're wittingly unwitting. Do you know what I mean by that? I think
what do you mean?
I think we're blissfully unwitting. I think we're kind of like Frank. looking the other way when we really know the truth.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. We all know that everything's fucked up. We all know that the government's corrupt. We all know that these things are all set up. You know, we have celebrities asking for money to save people's houses in Maui, but their house got saved because they hired their own thing. They hired their own fire department, things like that. Like, that's always there. That's always there, and it's always on the back of our shoulder at all times, and we know that. But we do our best to eke out our own existence with a little bit of moniker of happiness and contentment with our small lives. Like, as I've gotten older, I think it's one of the reasons too that, like, you get a little older, you don't really seem to want to strike against stuff too much, because you kind of I made my world smaller as I got older.
Yeah.
I do my very best. I mean, I'm on social media, sure, but I don't go looking for things that make me mad. I don't go looking for things that make me upset. Not that I'm burying my head in the sand, but I'm not going out there to look for negativity. I'm trying to find a little bit of hope in my life, whatever it be.
Yeah. So much of it, I think, starts at the individual and the individual within their own home and how they take care of their own lives. I think a lot of the shit starts there, man. But you know, it's funny you say that you're as you get older, you're much less willing to, quote unquote, fight the power, right? To quote Chuck D. Maybe there's some truth to that. But sometimes I think, if you fight the power just grows in strength under your fighting. Sometimes it's best to just carve the power out of your life and throw it in the fucking trash can. Don't engage with the power as much as possible, right? And yeah, I'm sure somebody will say, well, that's easy for you to say because you got X, Y, and Z, and I don't have X, Y, and Z, and that may be fucking true. But I'll tell you what, if there's one thing the establishment likes us at each other's throats. And the more we do that, the more they win. That's just the way it's going to always be. The way it's always been, divide and conquer, right?
For
that's
real.
the way it's always been, and it will always
thing.
be. And that's the truth, because at the end of the day, Scott, listen to me. I've got my followers whipped up into a frenzy to where they fucking hate your guts.
Okay.
You've got your followers whipped up into a frenzy, and they hate my guts. They don't really understand that we don't really hate each other. This is a game, right? I play for the green team, you play for the yellow team, right? I'm on this side of the politics, you're on that side of the politics. And we're living life. We golf on Sundays. Our kids go to Yale. They got a fucking $1 million in the bank when they're 18. They're fine. You know, I've been realizing that your people seem to really strike out against this. So I'm going to really push that so they come after me. And can you do me a favor? Can you maybe get my people whipped up into a frenzy? Because if we keep these fucking dumb cunts at each other's throats, we can keep golfing on Sundays and our kids can keep going to fucking Yale. Because the second they turn our knives on our fucking ass, it is a tu Brutus.
We're
right?
done.
So
and that's
the trick, man.
whole,
and that's this
the
whole
thing.
fucking movie is that. They've lulled us into this. They've tricked us into that. We are unwitting accomplices. Yes. Yes. Annihilation of our consciousness. We're in a trance. Artificially induced distraction. Ling, 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 ling. Look over here. Don't look over here. Ling, 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 ling. It's all Oz to me. Don't look behind the fucking curtain, because then you'll find out most Americans kind of want the same shit.
They've been doing that since the Roman Empire. The whole phrase bread and circus. If I keep you entertained and fed, I get away with doing anything and you don't question it.
Fucking
You don't. And we don't. We do a little bit, but we
you know
still
who
go back-
does?
Who?
My man John Nada.
Hell yeah.
Dude fucking rules. It doesn't take him long to stumble his way into... does he find the glasses before they attack the camp?
Yes.
And then he hides them.
Well, what he does, he goes in. He goes.
No. Yeah.
He finally goes in after he's been watching the choir practice church. He goes in there and then realizes there's nobody in there. There's just two speakers with a tape player playing chorus. Yeah. And what he does is he trips and falls and sees there's like a secret box.
Yes.
And so he sees boxes in there. He goes to put the box, like the fake wall back up, and turns around and the preacher's right on him. Like it's a jump scare. And the preacher's reaching all over his face, and he's like, let me feel your face. Let me feel your hands. And then he sees that he's a working man. So he's obviously not an alien. And he freaks out. He freaks out and runs outside. And then you kind of get the idea that the police have been watching this place because there's a helicopter watching right above them. And all the other people that were hiding in the church go outside and run up and put their glasses on and look up. So there's something going on.
Fucking A. And that's when the police descend upon them, right?
Yes. Because they were scouting.
Speaking of unwitting accomplices to the power structure, this is, I'm going to tell you what, Scott, this scene was fantastic in the theater.
Really?
It was, yes. It's funny. You watch this and you go, okay, yeah, great. It's just a scene where people kind of get banged up. You watch this. Sorry about that. You watch this scene in the theater and it is super intense. You just see people getting steamrolled. And what I love, just them marching down the street. It looks like everything from the summer of fucking 20 whatever. But just rolling down the street, kicking in doors. And what I like about this, and it's funny because the first time I watched this, I didn't know how I felt about it. There are a lot of these reaction shots of John looking around. He looks dumbfounded. There's a couple of shots of Frank looking around. He seems a bit dumbfounded. And the excavator just rolls through the camp. People start scattering. Things get wild. And I love the reaction shots in the jostling because it is showing, it reminds me that this is happening so fast that people are like, what the fuck? Even John is just walking. It's not registering him like this is a full-on attack by the police. Again, Keith David looking around. No, they're coming.
Yeah,
they're coming for your fucking ass.
They got a wall and they're getting them out of there. They're there to just smash that whole little settlement.
Yep. And why? Because they got some kind of order from on high that said X, Y, and Z. And now these guys are like, oh, there's some kind of criminal activity going here. Let's go clean these fuckers out. But the reality is that this is where this transmission's coming from. They know that some fuckery is afoot here, and they just want to wipe out any attempt, any
part of it.
Any part of this needs to be dealt with very harshly.
And there's a small scene I want to talk about where the police, it's shot from behind the police, and they're approaching Buck, and Buck's got his hands up, and then they approach him quietly, and that's it, and it cuts because that's something important later on.
Indeed. Yep. Yeah, and the whole camp just gets fucking steamrolled.
It's so bad because they're just like thumping these two old guys, just wailing on the priest. And he's got a pipe or his cane. He's trying to fight them off, and they're just beating the shit out of them like some crazy police brutality. They're just wailing. They're surrounding the bearded guy who made the transmission, and they're just wailing on him.
Yeah, he's the target, right?
Yep. And the priest
he's the rabble.
well.
He's the threat to the establishment. Right? These guys are catching such a beating because they dared not wear a mask outside. You know? He dared to go to a park at the height of COVID. Can you imagine the nerve of that guy? I say beat him to death.
Yeah.
Because
get rid
that's
of him.
the safe play is to beat that man to death, I think. So nobody gets injured by the virus. I think that's a good play. I think he should be thrown in jail and beaten on the way in. That's right.
Yeah, for not following the rules. Exactly, right?
Absolutely. You coughed outside, execute him.
Get
Electric
him.
chair.
Throw flares and corner him in a fucking alleyway.
What do we got here? People outside? That's a violation. Take them in. Put the bracelets on them. You got to be inside during COVID. I'm not pointing fingers at a particular country. I'm just saying. How dare you be outside? Walla walla wallaby.
It's true, though. It's true.
You guys can guess. That is.
I mean, I have an idea.
Oh, there's a man standing in a park after curfew. Quick, get the batons out. Kick him to death. Probably from a political spectrum I don't like. That makes him not a human, essentially.
Yeah.
Let's feed him to the snakes and the gators. Wait, what do they have? Let's get the Komodo dragons. Eat a bar out. Put on a mask or you're going to the... Anyway.
So they're like hiding inside of everyone's scattered to the wind. Nada finds a kid kind of terrified as he's watching these two old guys get the shit beat out of him for nothing. And they run into this alleyway and find a place to hide. Which is weird to me that these cops don't find these people?
Because I don't think they care. They just wanted to break that place down.
Yeah, it's just they're just.
You want to hear something pretty
downtrodden.
intense? I was talking to a police officer today. I'm not going to say who, obviously, and I was just fucking around with him. I was like, "You arresting any innocent kids lately?" He's like, "Dude, I don't arrest anybody anymore." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I just don't. I don't bother." He goes, "The whole department doesn't arrest anybody. We're done. We're done. We're not going to get." He goes, "We're not going to be on the news. I'm not going to get filmed. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to be that." And he's like, I don't arrest people." He goes, "You know who I arrest? If I have to go to domestic and somebody's beating somebody up, that guy gets arrested." He goes, "Otherwise, nah, I'm not doing it."
Well, that's working real well for California right now.
I was
That's
like,
working
all right.
real well.
I kind of felt like saying high five, brother. Way to
I
go.
get that part, but like now like, look what they're doing with all the stores in California. They don't arrest anybody. Everyone just runs in and steals all the DeWalt tools out of Home Depot, and nobody says
Dude,
nothing.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm jealous of the DeWalt thieves.
Dude, I'm like, dude,
Can you imagine
I'm like,
getting
I got
a free
Ryobi,
fucking
man.
a free fucking shot? You Ryobi piece of shit. Oh my god! Could you imagine getting a free DeWalt chop saw?
Oh my god, dude! It's like
Give me a
Christmas.
skill saw, chop saw. Give me the fucking Sawzall. I want them all.
Yeah.
Give me the fucking jig. I'm out. Jigsaw. Puzzle.
But-
no, just jigsaw. So yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, I know.
So one of the things when he went into the church before they attacked was that the wall said, "They live, we sleep," which is pretty intense when you think about it. He goes in and kicks down the wall and grabs a box. He doesn't even. He's like, "I'm not even gonna look at it because let's get out of here." He walks outside, sees the cops are there, kind of goes back in, and then runs down the alleyway to find a place where he isn't being watched to open up the box.
Yep. He has a great YouTube unboxing video.
So here I am in the alleyway with the trash and the piss bums. I'm going to show you what I found in the warehouse. Click and like if you want to know what it is.
Holy cow, what have we got in here? Check these out. We've got some shades. Oh my word, why does my wife look like a fucking lizard lady? Oh my god, she looks like a lizard lady. And then I put a bunch of scared emojis and big fucking swirly texts so I can get more than 300 views per video. But I'm not bitter. I got to put more fucking emojis and swirly texts.
Oh, man.
But, so this is the beginning of his awakening in the greatest sequence of events.
Yes.
All of the messaging that he sees when he puts on the glasses. Obey, consume.
Marry and reproduce.
Yeah, on any of the sex imagery.
Yep. Don't question authority. He zooms in. He looks at one of the newspaper guy's hands. He's got money in his hand. It says, "This is your God."
Indeed.
It's so good.
The new morning in the lives of the LSG media faithful. The content is fresh and vital. The old cynicism is gone. Faith in LSG media grows by leaps and bounds, and we are optimistic about the quality of content today and in the future. You are smart, independent, but something is missing from your life. We were lost just like you once, but then the voices of Scott and Dean called out from the void. You have an opportunity to change things today. Join the swelling ranks of the LSG media faithful. Abandon your barbaric habits of paying $5 for a latte from Big Coffee and instead join our cause for only $5 per month. That's only $5 per month. Inject some meaning into your life. Purpose awaits and your peace of mind is only a few clicks away. Say goodbye to guilt, loneliness, and anger. Embrace the laughter and prepare yourself for the good life. Become a member of LSG Media Faithful now. Cast off your doubt and free yourself to the possibilities. Go to lsgmedia.net. That's lsgmedia.net. And one final message. If you see anyone wearing sunglasses that look like these, please report them to the authorities immediately.
All right, I guess we are back. And Scott, I haven't even showed off my shirt yet. Check
Oh,
this
yeah?
shirt out. It's
I can't see it.
It's the thing. You can see it now. I'm showing you. Pretend you see it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's it's Donkey Kong. Body looks pretty good too. Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong, and the Thing. It's
Okay.
It's the thing. It's the Donkey Kong board and the Thing, and it was a gift to me from Brycop. So thanks.
Awesome.
Shout out to Brycop.
Hell yeah, Bri.
Yeah. By the way, if you haven't catched our LSG Media gaming wing, you got to see us doing some Arkham Horror, the card game on YouTube. It's been fucking a blast. I even put up a tutorial on how to play. So check
good.
that stuff out.
I gotta finish watching it so I can join you guys.
I know I just pitched. Well, I didn't. I know that membership was just pitched to you by the powers that be. But
People in charge, power in charge.
the powers that be. All right. Before we had our broadcast interrupting, we were talking about this incredible awakening and all of this messaging, which is fantastic. And this is the moment where you're really sold on the movie. As a real young guy, this didn't, when I was 13, 14, I didn't care about this shit. I was like, what does this mean? I don't care.
Yeah, as we get older and we understand the world a little bit better, it definitely rings truer. When I was younger, all I was like, oh, the aliens, they're cool. Not like the work 8 hours, sleep 8 hours, all these signs that are kind of like telling you exactly what all of us do every single day just to get by is what these aliens want.
Yeah, absolutely. Fucking working 8 hours is so goofy sometimes.
Dumb.
Don't get it wrong. I could work fucking 15 on a thing that has my interest engaged.
Yes.
But this
for yourself.
like mindless bullshit, stupid.
I
How
can work-
good are people how much actual work are you getting out of somebody in the course of 8 hours?
Probably about 3 hours
If
of good
that.
work.
If that. Yep. If that.
Because also too is like the average person doesn't have that kind of energy. What you want someone to
Why
have
would
100%.
you? Why would you have so much energy for some other man's dreams?
Exactly. You're getting a dime for their dollar. So and a lot of places like people are like, oh well, you can't find anyone to work. Well, you're paying a minimum wage, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do you expect? You expect minimum work, right? No, I expect them to want to do extra. I'm like, well, you're not paying them extra. So what do you? It's kind of like a chicken before the egg thing. If you pay them more,
you can work your way up to management for an extra $4 an hour.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
It's
And look,
just
some
the way
people,
of the world.
listen, and I know there are a lot of people listening to this pod right now. Our listener base is a little bit older, and they probably have more money than the average person.
Yeah,
they've
maybe.
been at their job a long fucking time. They work their way up, and some jobs you certainly can. But it's this funny thing. What do we think? It's thinking about these aliens, and they live. They want to keep doing this. Like this is their third world, right? Well, let's talk about now that they've all been revealed and Piper knows who they are. We haven't talked a lot about the aliens. We've just talked about this sort of comparison to today's world and even the world of 1988. But what is it that's motivating these aliens?
They come to find out what motivates them is they consume everything. They consume all the natural resources and then move on.
Yes.
So they've infiltrated the all higher ups in the governments and media, and they slowly drain all of the resources out of the planet while propping up humans that help them do it.
Right, the collaborators.
Yeah, they know the aliens are there and they're part of the deal. They've got all the, as my father would have said, all the fingers in the proper assholes.
Yep. We are their third world, I believe, is what Buck says later in the movie.
Yes.
And I
it's
love
true.
this idea. They go for the people at the top because the people at the top are we're all such simple creatures that we can just easily be bribed. And because again, even all of the people that are prey to what's happening to these creatures, they are all the same as those people who are actually in power. They're just being motivated and tricked at a different level, right?
Yeah,
It's the same deal. It's just a different. The carrot that I need to get the carrot that I need to wave to convince Buck of my cause is different than the one I might need to wave to convince Obama to my cause if I'm some crazy, powerful alien, right? It's just a different carrot. But at the end of the day, we all want the same shit. We don't want to be killed. We don't want our family to be killed. We don't want to, right? We're strangely resilient and can take a ton, but we're also very difficult to, we're very easy to manipulate insofar as that if people start to threaten to take the shit from you, right?
Yeah.
People start saying they're going to lock you up. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. You'll capitulate. It's very difficult to not,
Absolutely.
But why have an adversarial relationship when you can have a copacetic relationship by utilizing bribery and goodwill, right? That's the thing. That's less adversarial. That's easier to focus on.
Yes. There's a scene in the grocery store here where there's the aliens talking to a human and they're friends, and he goes, "Oh man, I'm really depressed. I didn't get that promotion." And the alien guy goes, "Yeah, you'll get it. Don't worry, man. I got mine. You'll be good." And he doesn't know the fact that he's an alien, and that's why he got bumped up. All the aliens get bumped up while the other guys are kind of left behind. Yeah. And it's kind of like a interesting thing to show because he still has that American dream. Like, I'll be okay if I just put my time in. No, you won't, because these aliens are working just for certain people and only elevating certain people.
Indeed. And that is such an important part of this movie, is that if the roles were reversed, it's just happenstance. And I don't want to be too cynical here, but if for some reason the aliens went to these people who had nothing, they could have just as easily have bribed them, right? So the question becomes, why don't they? Well, it's because they need them. They need them to do what they do, right? Well, they don't need these particular people, because as far as they're concerned, they are of no use to the aliens because they don't seem to, the aliens, have any value. So because they don't have any value, they can just be steamrolled. You can run them over, just plow their camps, beat them up, use the cops, bring all your tools to bear against them. They give nothing to the end line for the alien. And that's a dark metaphor too.
It's much easier to infiltrate down than it is to infiltrate up.
Yeah.
You go to the head of something, get control of him, then it trickles down and you already got it. Going from the bottom is very hard. And they don't matter anyway. All they need them to do is stay asleep, do their thing, make their money for their corporations, and the corporations pay these aliens, and the aliens consume everything and then move on.
Yep. And the second one of them becomes a problem, you just pull them in, you show them the hot tub, you show them the two chicks that are going to suck his cock, you show him the new watch he's got, his new car, and dude, most people would struggle to say no to that, especially people with something to lose.
Especially if you're poor, like if you're a buck, you're living on the street, and all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, just sign up with us. You'll get $1 million and a watch and hookers and blow." Okay, cool. They'll capitulate very easily.
Even easier is going to be some poor fuck struggling.
Yeah.
I told a story about my dad. What if my dad was 27 and was trying to cut down firewood to sell so he could heat his house, or his house? I mean, that's a tiny little place he lived in. But he, what if the alien came to him and said, "Hey, let me help you out," right?
Yeah, he'd say yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, most likely, more people would say yes than no.
Indeed.
We don't want to struggle if we can find a way around it.
Of course. Yeah.
It's just
That's
the
why
nature
we
of the
shout
beast.
for relevance on the internet.
We hope to get noticed.
We hope to get noticed. Yep. That's really what it comes down to. Great Rowdy Piper shit here. Great wrestling Rowdy Piper shit here. Let's have a listen to this scene when the
Oh man, this is so good.
Nasty lady bumps into him. Here we go.
Are no limits.
It figures it would be something like this.
Our nation, our ideal of vision.
Excuse
We don't want
me.
to just survive.
You know,
We want to
you look like your head
succeed.
fell in the cheese dip back in 1957. You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly. You see, I take these glasses off, she looks like a regular person, doesn't she, huh? Put them back on, formaldehyde face. That's what we got.
That's enough out of you. You get out or I call the cops.
Call the cops. You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
He's always faulting.
I've got one that can see.
Ooh, things have changed. I've got one that can see.
Okay, couple things. One, I find it hilarious. He mocks the fucking clerk. Called the cops. And he falls over because these glasses make you high. Interfering with his signal. He starts stumbling left and right. Also, these aliens he's run into have been kind of benign up until this point.
That's right.
When they find out they're threatened and someone can see, he turns around and they're all looking at him and talking into their watches. White veil. And that is intimidating and terrifying. That
scene of them moving in unison, almost hive-mindedly approaching him, is fantastic. They're all reporting him. It's extra creepy, and I love that. And now it becomes now all bets are off.
Yep.
Now all bets are off.
He's now part of the. He was blending in before, but now every one of them are looking for him.
That's right.
And that makes it even more creepy because they're everywhere. They've infiltrated all walks of our life, our culture.
Yep. So wild. And dude, and this gets back to the John, not a character. He can't help. He's being himself, right? He was always insulting other wrestlers and talking shit about them. And then the cops roll up on them. And part of me wonders, you'd think, why wouldn't they just take him into? Were they going to take him into custody?
They were going to make him sell. They were like, "Come with us. This is just a misunderstanding."
Yep.
They were either going to
make him disappear.
They were going to take him into custody or turn him. They were going to make him sell out or just make him disappear. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder. There has to be a cap on this, on how many people they can have in it, right?
But I mean, I would think they'd make the exception because he's seen what they are. To me, honestly, he's a loose cannon. He's too much of a. They would just probably pop him one and be done.
Do you think there was some sort of? What am I trying to say? I get weird about my hair sticking up. Do you think there was some kind of decision in the higher ups of the aliens to? By the way, why does this cop have a 357?
Yeah,
it's fucking massive.
Because it looks.
It
good
might
when
even
you
be a
murk
44.
aliens.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Thing's a fucking hog leg.
Oh yeah.
But he. By the way, he just starts killing police. And isn't one of them an actual man?
Yes, he catches one later.
Yeah.
And he doesn't kill him. He looks at him, he sees that he's a human, he goes, "Beat your feet. Get the fuck out of here." I love that. He's just not.
Wasn't one of these cops? Oh no, he knocked one out and shot. No, he kills both of them.
No, he kills both of them. Both of them are aliens.
Are we sure?
Yeah, watch. When they pull up, he pulls up.
Yep.
Yeah, they're both aliens.
The one that was talking to the thing. Oh, he takes. I can't remember if they were both, but I'm gonna have to trust you on this.
Well, he said the one walking up is the one behind, and the one he goes, "You look as ugly to us as we do to you."
Okay,
the other one,
that confirms it because he says one he sees and one says it, so they both are. Because I was like, wait, did he just waste a dude? Because that's intense.
Well, see, I like that he makes it a point to show later on he gets encountered by a cop after he shoots up the bank, and the cop is just a regular guy. He pulls his gun and lets him go because he's just a human, which is cool because you would think to everyone else he's a madman. He's just shooting cops and shooting bank employees and people patrons in the bank.
He's going real hardcore.
I love that, our society is so jaded that they hear gunshots and nobody looks down the alleyway. They just walk right by like no big deal.
Exactly. He's like, give me the shotgun. I'll take the cruiser. Give me everything. Yep. Dude,
he just walks out into traffic with a fucking shotgun.
Why? Why is he doing this? Is it because is this too highfalutin to say he's found meaning?
I think he's just terrified, and he accidentally goes into the bank. He just saw the cops coming down the street, and he walked backwards into a building.
That's right. He rolled into a building, just trying to hide.
And then, he realizes this is not the place to have a gun.
Right. Now you've immediately he's already killed 2 people, but this is now you're extending your list of crimes.
Yeah.
Your rap sheet is growing exponentially.
Hell yeah.
As we speak. But of course, he's looking at everybody.
His great line, "I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," which was improvised by Roddy Piper.
Was it?
Because he's a wrestler. They tried a couple things. I think that was the best one.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And that gets repeated in Duke Nukem, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of Duke Nukem is that and Ash from Evil Dead.
They live, and yeah, it's a lot of Nada and Ash. Let's listen to the line.
Absolutely.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dude, the gunshots sound amazingly real.
They do, and like
because they got that sharp noise that there's not a lot of bass. Like when you hear gunfire in a movie, you hear a lot of the bass of the gun, but you don't hear that. Like when you hear guns shot next to you, it's got that. It's really high up there, like in that range, and it just the echoing in the bank is fantastic. And I love that they're using blanks. They're using blanks, dude. That's my favorite shit.
The squib on that alien when they shoot him and all the blood goes all over the wall.
Fucking everywhere, dude.
Fucking great.
It is fantastic.
He goes outside and he sees that they have kind of like early drones that are
like
watching him.
little fucking dick drones looking for
little
him.
cameras on them.
Well, he ends up having to take off and run away, and this is where he runs into. This is when he runs into Meg Foster. What do you think about Meg Foster in this movie?
She's terrifying. Not just because of her weird eyes.
Do you think it's because she's like a lizard? She plays it like a reptile.
She's not quite human. She's a little devoid of emotion.
She's empty.
Yes. The aliens are more human than she is.
She's early model AI.
Yeah, for real. The way she plays this is very casual, very middle of the road, so you don't quite know if she's in on it or not through the whole movie.
Did you ever trust her?
No.
Me neither.
No, I didn't for a second. It doesn't take very long to prove the theory because she bonks him on the fucking head and he goes flying out the door or out the window. He gets, I mean, it looked like it was like 50 feet too.
It's a deep fall.
Yeah.
But no, she's got such cool eyes. That was always Meg Foster's thing. Her eyes were just like.
Yeah, I remember as a kid she was she was Evil in the He-Man movie. And that was the first time I saw her, and I was like, "What's wrong with her eyes?"
Do you remember that movie? Because it's bad.
It's terrible.
Unfortunate. It's such a big miss. I wanted it to be good so bad, Scott.
Yeah, I watched
just trash.
I watched it in like my late 20s, and I was like, "Oh, I loved this as a kid." Oh man,
I know. It's because they should have stayed in Eternia, but I don't think the budget could handle that.
Yeah, no, it's too many sets. They needed like downtown Cleveland, and
yeah, let's go to let's fill in this Little League dugout. No one's here, right? Do we need a permit?
No, we're good.
But when she makes the phone call, that's when I was suspicious. After she tosses his ass out the window, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, who is she calling? She
What do you mean?
someone who.
Yeah.
Well, there's this whole scene where he's in the car with her, and he's like, "Lady, they're all around us. They've been here forever." He's telling her all this stuff, and she's just like, "Whatever you want me to say, I'll believe. You want me to look in these glasses? Sure, I'll see whatever you want me to see, even if I don't see it." So he doesn't even show her because she'll see whatever he wants her to see. It's an interesting thing because that kind of, for me, was a red flag that she didn't want to look and see. Not the same way with Frank, because Frank is just defiant because he knows this guy's crazy.
And he's trying to protect his holdings.
Yeah.
Frank's like, let me be. Can I just leave me fucking be?
It's like crazy white people and your problems.
Crazy son of a bitch. Yeah. He knows how it goes. You start hanging out with this guy, you're going to get shot first.
Yep.
And what happens? You fucking get shot first. God damn, Holly. But he's got nowhere to go. His name's being plastered all over the place, all over the TVs. And he gets out of there. I think he lost his glasses in the fall, right?
Yeah, I think they were in the apartment before she brained him.
Yeah, you're right. She cracked him in the head. And then he retrieves his glasses. And It's the incredible scene. It's about the hour mark. Right. This is where we start spinning into the third act.
Yeah,
but
right
there's
here.
just so many great moments in this, man. With the way Keith David kicks his bag away, he's so fucking mad. I don't know if you catch that. After he gets slugged, he kicks his fucking bag out of the way. It's excellent.
He's like, that's it. This is such a good choreographed fight because it doesn't feel fake at all.
It does kinda.
Well, the part where he like
does a little bit.
The part where he like suplexes him on the ground was the only part I thought was kind of fake.
Yeah,
I do. One part I did like when he accidentally breaks Frank's car's window and he's like, "Oh shit, man, I'm sorry." Like they're beating the shit out of each other, and he's like, "Oh man, that's an unspoken rule. We're not supposed to fuck with each other's cars." You know, he's like, "I'm sorry, man," because he's just trying to wail on him just to get him to see what he's seeing in the glasses. He doesn't hate him. The fight is the purpose of the fight is weird.
Yeah, it's true. Do you know what this fight is? And it's occurring to me now, and I can't believe I haven't thought of this until now, unless I said it many, many years ago when I talked about this movie. But this is a wrestling bout.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a rowdy Roddy Piper wrestling bout, and it goes about the length of a match, and there's different moves, and it's it's not realistic to me at all.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Maybe
I love it, but don't get it twisted. But it's not. There's nothing real about it. It's just awesomely entertaining. It's like wrestling, right?
Yeah, maybe I'm a little tainted because I do love it.
Yeah.
With this, what happened was
their
John
faces,
Carpenter,
dude, would be mush.
Oh, they wouldn't be standing up.
If Keith David tees off on you 4 or 5 times, or if Roddy Piper tees off on you 4 or 5 times, that's it, man. Your face is mush.
Yeah, you're gonna forget your childhood. You know what I mean?
You're gonna.
They're not gonna be walking.
You're gonna be You're gonna be deciding on what the surgery date is to get your nose fixed.
Yeah, for real.
Ugh, that sucks.
But John Carpenter knew that he had a wrestler, and they worked.
Absolutely.
And Roddy Piper wanted to show a little bit of his physicality as well, and they worked into the script. And I think they rehearsed for like 2 days.
No shit. It's awesome. It's great choreography. It's fun. It's funny. Dude,
he can
when
sell.
Piper gets mad, man. This is wrestling. This was him when he would get mad, right?
He can sell fake fighting because that's what he does every day of his life.
Should we listen to some of the fight for fun? I know.
Let's go. The noises Roddy Piper makes are great.
Here he goes. Dude, Piper's so scrappy. Jesus. Dude, dropping knees on his cock. Toe drag. That's a real wrestling move.
Yep.
Do you think there had to be a part in this? There's got to be a... Yeah, he hits the car. He's like, "Oh, man, I'm really sorry." Where's the scene where he tries to do something and Keith Davies goes, "You dirty motherfucker."
He goes to hit him in the dick. He goes to dry gulch him in the dick. He's like, he's on the ground. He just swings his arm. He's, "You dirty motherfucker."
Good shit.
And then later on, Keith David just completely annihilates his testicles with his knee.
Squishes him like fucking eggs.
Oh, I love it. It's so good because he's beat him. Frank is beat him.
You know what's crazy about that is Roddy Piper, like he can lift men up. Like he's a strong fucking guy. He was a wrestler. He's strong
got a body
as shit.
built for murder. Like
100%.
Like
do you think Do you think Keith David at one point felt his strength and went, this fucking dude's strong? And conversely, do you think Roddy Piper ever felt Keith David's strength and was like, damn, this dude's strong? Because Keith David's a big man. Like he's like
big
he's taller
guy.
than Piper. He's like 6'4".
Yeah. And he's got to be like over 200 pounds.
He gives him a gut wrench suplex. Oh yeah. And Piper just throws his ass.
Yeah. They're both very, very physical people. Like, you don't doubt for a second that Keith David could hold his own. Not for a second.
We got the light going on the producer's booth. Hold on. What do we got?
No, I watched a Keith David interview where he said that Roddy Piper used to just pick him up in his arms and be like, oh, what should I do with him? It's amazing.
Can you imagine being another man?
They're like the same weight. And he would just pick him up in his arms like, oh, what did I do with him?
Dude. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's my point, right? That's the kind of, he had that applied strength.
Yeah. Well, that's what he does every day. You got that strength from doing. It's like when you see, like, we have like delivery guys that deliver ice at my work, and they're huge because they sling 40 pounds of bags of ice 8 hours a day. He probably doesn't work out at all. He's probably just from doing the job. And that dude is tough as nails.
Yeah. Anytime I see a delivery guy at the gym, like if I'm working out and a dude comes in a UPS thing, I'm like, that's a real ass dude.
Yeah.
Like that guy just worked all day carrying boxes and now he's here. I'm a bitch. That's
damn,
so no. He
I got to do a couple extra reps next to him.
It's December. He just carried packages for 12 hours because you needed it in 2 days. Guilty. Yeah, I needed my Arkham expansion in 2 days. And now he's at the gym. Holy fuck, that guy's strong. But yeah, Piper, they're the same size. And he just picks him up. I love that. Maja. Picks him up. What am I going to do with him?
That's so cool.
That's a got to be a check for Keith David. He must be like, well, that's
damn.
That's a different feeling I'm having right now. As a big, strong man.
I'm sure someone his size and stature has never been picked up by another man and goes, what should I do with him? Where should I throw him? What should I do? I'm sure it's very foreign to him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dude, but the reality is these guys would have walked to this fucking apartment or this hotel and they would have slept for 2.5 days.
One of them would have not woken up. Yeah. You know,
I don't know if you've ever taken a severe beating in your life. I have taken 3 in my time, and
I've taken some. So getting my head punched repeatedly. I've been hit in the face quite a few times, but never like somebody sitting across my chest driving my head into the fucking street.
Yeah, I have.
But I've been in practice and shit like that, but I've been strangled a bunch of times by other men, and that's pretty fun.
I got beat up so bad that like I didn't go to school for like 3 days, and I only got up to eat.
Did you get jumped?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost got jumped once, and I got the fuck out of there, and when I was pedaling my bike, they were whipping rocks at me, and one hit me right in the fucking head. I was so mad, but I couldn't do anything about it. There was like fucking 4 of them.
I got chased by 3 dudes and I couldn't get away, and they stomped the shit out of me. But I limped myself home, and I spent the next 3 days sleeping.
Yes,
your body is just go to sleep. I didn't have any energy at all. It took about a week before I could kind of move around normal.
Do you remember the first time you get hit in the face? That's a fun thing, right? Like, and I don't mean like sparring. And even that's the thing. You get a glove in the face for the first time. You're like, oh shit, now everything's different. Right? It's like when Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
They get punched in the face.
Truest shit ever. You're like, what the fuck?
First fight I got in, I got punched in the nose, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm sorry, I was an asshole. It dropped me to my knee, and my fucking eyes watered. I was like, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. I'm done. That was it. Because it took the fire right out of me.
The hardest punch I took in one of the earliest memories I have, I can't remember how old I was, middle school maybe? No, it was before that, maybe. But this kid, Nelson, he fucking teed off on me hard. He just punched me right in the face. Whack. And I wasn't super expecting it. I was running my mouth, and he kind of turned and then turned back and just whap. And he fucking smashed me. I went down. I was like, holy shit. But never, he didn't knock me out. I was concerned maybe he would have, but I've collided heads with people before. That sucks.
Yeah, I've done that in football.
You played. I didn't play football, but you played baseball too, right? But I collided heads.
Baseball.
I collided heads doing jiu-jitsu crap. basketballs whipped directly into your face, like no look chest passes. You turn and there's just an orange ball, boom, right in your face. Stuff like that. But
I got dizzy.
I've been pretty lucky about not getting gruesome injuries. I got
that's good.
One of the things that sort of got me out of jiu-jitsu was I got a bad neck injury once because I got put in a can opener, and then I got a bad heel hook put on me once, and it fucked up my ankle. It's really rough. It actually went. It popped because I thought I was going to escape. I should have not.
Should have tapped.
And by the way, it's a great lesson in size difference. I was about 180. He was about 140, and he was all over me. Because he was just more skillful. He knew the game way better than me at the time. Brazilian kid, Leo, he was fucking awesome. Love that guy. But and then this other kid, Lawrence was his name. He put me in a can opener. And when I didn't know much, which was probably not super advisable by him, and it popped my neck, and I've just never been the same. I can't sleep on my stomach. I've been to the chiropractor. Nothing. It's just a thing. It's just the way it is forever. It's weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like that's one thing they don't tell you about when you do those things. Is that sometimes you can just have an injury.
Sports
you can just have an injury that, one of the things that kind of put me out of playing baseball was I was sliding to home plate and I slid forward, head first, and I slid into his knee as he was turning and it rolled me over and knocked me out. Yeah, he was ready. And I was sliding and I slid, he turned and he put his knee out and his knee hit me right in the temple and I rolled over and was knocked out.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was like 16. I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
It's funny. And you see most home plate slides go in head first. It's because all they need to do is touch home plate.
Yeah.
Versus if you go in feet first, you want to stop it. I mean, some guys go feet first. Some guys, I guess if you go feet first, you're just trying to break up a double, right?
Yeah.
You would normally always go head first.
Head first. It's just easier to get.
So you can touch
you can slide sideways and
touch the plate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can't do that when you're sliding with your feet.
Cleats up, you're trying to break up a double, right?
Yeah.
He's just trying to fuck a guy up.
Be a dickhead.
Yeah. Anyone who doesn't know what we're saying is like, I don't know, this language is a different language to me. Cleats up, head first, home base, what the fuck? But
you're just being a dickhead and you drive your cleats into someone's shin. That's all.
I mean, sometimes they come way up and you're like, hey man.
Yep.
What are you doing? Then that guy goes to the plate next time and gets drilled with a fastball.
That was me. I was the pitcher.
Yeah, you could throw hard, man, right? Couldn't you? How fast could you throw?
I think the fastest I got to was 70, and I was 16. So
that's pretty fucking good, dude.
Yeah, left-handed sidearm pitcher, which unfortunately
unless you played a lot of little league ball, go to a batting cage and put that fucker up to 60 and try to hit it.
Yeah, good luck.
Dude. And then you think of pros throw 95, 96, 97.
Yeah,
dude. You'll foul off 70 all day. You won't get around on it.
You can't even get it. You literally have not. It's hard to like.
It's harder though because the thing shoots the ball. You don't get to see a wind up.
Yeah.
So you can't time your step, right? It's a little bit different. Anyone else want to do an hour on baseball?
Yeah. You spend you spend the first $1.50 you put in the machine just trying to get the timing right before you even swing at the right time.
Yep.
But hell yeah.
So after the big alleyway fight, they go to a baseball game.
Yeah. All the Yankees are fucking aliens.
Yeah, probably.
That makes sense.
So no, after the alley fight, he being Frank is finally convinced, which leads them to this safe house meeting, right? Do you want to talk about this a little bit? Because this is what pushes us to the final action here.
Well, because remember, Frank was friends with Gilbert, and Gilbert's the guy who's manufacturing these Hoffman lenses. So they get in touch. They go to the secret meeting, and they have a guy waiting outside with a shotgun. And they go. Yep. The first thing you go into the meetings, you hear they got contacts now, which is cool because they can blend in. They're always looking for people with these Hoffman lenses on. They can blend in. And also, too, it's kind of like a kind of thing so that your actor doesn't have to wear sunglasses through the entire movie.
I'm glad you said that because that would be my guess, right? You don't have to wear sunglasses for the whole shoot.
Yeah. So you go, okay, we got contacts now. Contacts are cool. You can see everyone, and now...
They're cool. Yeah, they were really cool in the 80s. I think that's why, too, right? They're like,
yeah, right? It was something new. You didn't have to wear your bifocals anymore.
The lenses also, they don't have the interference. They don't get all like woo.
Yeah,
these are
gonna
from
cut
wearing the
down on your
contact.
headaches.
Yeah, you're not going to get high as a kite just looking through these sunglasses.
Yep.
And this is kind of like a little meeting of like the resistance. They're trying to get more members, and they're trying to figure out what they do. We should put the glasses out on the street. No. We've gone through this before. This is not the way to do it. It must be very difficult to kind of grow this fledgling following.
I was thinking the same thing. It's got to be difficult to recruit people because of a very simple reason, which is almost like something we were talking about, right? You even said it, Scott. You're like, I mean, I don't got time for this shit.
Yeah.
Right?
You're like, oh, alien's cool. I got to feed my kids. Bye. Gotta go to work.
Even if they, think about it today. I think there'd be like a protest and that's it. If they're like, no, they're lizard people. We'd be like, yeah, I know, but I want to watch fucking Breaking Bad and I got to go to
Game of
work
Thrones
early
is on.
and I've been working all day. So just let them be lizards.
Yeah.
Are my taxes going up?
Yeah. No. Okay, I'm fine.
What would we do? What would we do if they were lizard people?
We would take lizard people leadership if they lowered our taxes. We'd be like, sure, sign us up. That's all it would take, man. That's all it would take.
If they promise to give us freedom instead of our fucking lives, I'm in. I'm sold.
Yeah, cool. I'm not going to have to pay property tax on property my family's owned for 100 years. Cool. Long live the reptile gods.
Just pay your fair share, Scott.
Yeah.
Maj, you reach for the mic? You keep confusing me.
Sorry.
What were
The
you
only
gonna
thing
say?
I had to say about that is that it would be just abundant memes. That's how young people react to anything. Everything's just a meme and a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, they'd be like,
some guy would live stream it on, there'd be reaction videos on Twitch. Some Twitch millionaire, dude with curly hair would be like, oh, I don't know.
And we found out today that Biden is a lizard man.
He's not sniffing their hair. He's trying to communicate with them in this lizard language. He
Yeah,
has
he's
to say it
clicking.
really. It's a lot of hisses. So it's
He's
quiet.
hissing and
He has
clicking in their ear quietly. That's why he gets close.
They're all fucking lizards.
They are. They can't be more. It can't be human. That's for sure.
Yep. Although
Dude,
Biden's definitely a human because I've never seen a lizard trip. Like lizards don't fall down. That never would happen if you were a fucking reptile.
Up
You don't
and
trip.
downstairs at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know. So
Like,
he could be. I don't know. He's a lot of things, but he might not be a lizard.
Yeah.
I've never
real.
seen Trump fall. He might be a lizard. Possibly.
He might be.
You never know. Does he have one eye? Does his eyes move in a strange fashion? I'm not sure.
He breathes, he blinks one set of eyelids and then the next.
Wait
a minute.
Doing the hands and shit.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. So, but these guys got a problem. They've got lizards everywhere. And they're talking about how they're going to get this message out. What's the thing?
They're trying to... I was gonna say they're trying to find where this broadcast signal that's keeping everyone asleep is being broadcast from, and they're thinking it's the local radio station. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Holly shows up and is like, "No, it's clean." Which for me, this is like a super red flag.
Super red flag.
The
Couldn't
moment
be
she
bigger.
says it's clean, immediately these guys show up. The cops show up.
Full
and you see
Waco, Texas,
dude, for real. We're gonna save these guys. We're gonna give these guys freedom by burning them alive.
Quick, there's children that are being sexually molested. Burn them alive.
Kill them. It's okay.
Jesus Christ, man. But they come in guns blazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
it's
like-
just a firing squad. These guys get torn apart. Crazy.
Yeah. Oof.
Hey, blah, 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 like I was breakdancing. Trying to throw it.
Yeah.
This is quite the arms warehouse.
They got a lot of arms, and this is cool because it shows where for the ending of the movie that where Nada and Frank get their armaments from this meeting. They have a lot of weapons from it.
Yeah, what they do, it's mostly white people in this meeting, right? So what they do is they collect all the weapons, they lay them across one of those folding tables.
Yeah.
They get on the 6 o'clock news. The fucking chief the deputy chief or whoever gets up there in front of the podium, like we seized these from the alt-right group known as X, and blah blah blah. We took all these guns off the street. People go, fuck yeah, rejoice, right? That's it.
Yeah.
If they were mostly black, you could call them something else, and then it would make me the other people pump their fist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's all the
it's
same
really
shit.
strange.
You just lay all the guns out and you just go, look what we did. We cleaned up. We made you guys safe. They were coming for you.
Dude,
you're home.
It reminds me of my town has a like a Facebook group, and it's like, we broke up a drug bust today, and it's got like 3 little bags of like cocaine, and then like they have it laid down, and they have all the money splayed out, like they spread it out like a fan, and it's all $1 bills, and like someone underneath was like, wow, great job for the $32 bust, you know, like they make it look like they busted 30 grand and it's $8 in ones.
That's so fucking funny.
Fucking dumb.
Yeah. That's the same police officer I was talking to today was like, he's like, well, you know, he said captain. He's like, the captain wants us to get arrests because it looks good for him. I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's like, but we ain't fucking arresting people. Not that.
Not worth it.
That's the thing, right? It's just about getting on TV. That's something The Wire shows, right? Is so much of this is political because the people demand answers, so the police want to feed the media a message and
we're doing our job.
Copacetic, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting, but if it's not that complicated in this, it's simply we are working under the authority. Like I think the interesting story that's not told here is what are the human officers being told that they're doing when they go into these things, just cutting people in half.
Well,
I guess the second you kick in the door and a bunch of people and a bunch of people start reaching for guns, you go, oh, kill them.
Well, see, Gilbert mentions that. He's telling the other human. He says it. They've told the other humans that we're commies trying to bring down the government.
Right.
That's the whole story they're being told to the human cops and the human
they definitely shoot them.
Yeah. Right.
Fucking Casey Affleck and Oppenheimer.
Get him out of here.
Fucking creep. But yeah, they could have told them anything, right? Yeah. They're whatever. Yeah.
And what? So they get cornered in an alleyway, and they pick up one of the watches, and they're trying to make it work. And Frank throws it on the ground, and it's like it's an emergency warp zone tunnel to
very cool.
underground.
And this is where it all unfolds. They meet their guy Buck. They get to this high society place. People are bragging about all the money they made. They're all wearing ties.
You, the human elite, we working with you. It's like, it's really good because they zoom in. You can see them all. They're all aliens intermingling with the humans, and they're all powerful and full of money. And they're like, yeah, we've destroyed the rebellion. We've destroyed the resistance. And they're slapping high five all soldiers and everything. It's cool.
Buck's high fiving them.
Yeah, Buck's in a nice suit. He's not wearing a cape with his dick out. If you want to know what we're talking about, check the bonus. That's my pitch for membership. You want to know what we're talking about? Check out the bonus.
Buck likes to fuck.
Hell yeah.
So, anyway, Buck's a security concern if you're the aliens. He just walks them in, them around, shows them their teleportation device, zooming them out to the fucking moon.
These are my friends.
Check out all this broadcasting equipment that you could use to break the spell on humanity. Pay close attention to the placement of these guards. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, hey, can I show him the tour? And he's like, you guys got your authorization cards? And he's like, yeah, right here. And they just murk these aliens. Boom, boom, I love it.
Yeah. It looked like there's a moment where it looks like Piper fans the hammer, but he's got an automatic, so it doesn't work that way, which is funny. Yeah. Also, grabbing him by the beard is such a Piper move.
It's so good. Because he's kind of a sniveler at this moment, you know?
He must have grabbed Captain Lou Albano's beard at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Tugged on it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But no, this is what Buck says is great here. Because
can we
I think,
listen to it?
Yeah, please. Because he speaks for the masses that are tempted by all of it.
Holly works in there. If she made it, maybe we can find her. Then we can go to the roof and break that signal.
Wait, boys, wait. You're making a big mistake.
You made the mistake.
No, you gotta listen to me. I thought you boys understood. It's business. That's all it is. You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want. What's wrong with having it good for a change? Now, they're gonna let us have it good if we just help them. They're gonna leave us alone, let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life, too. Now, I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
You do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team. See ya, boys.
Dude, that is John Carpenter's commentary about America in the 80s.
Yep.
That we sell each other out for dollars.
Yep. Good shit. But they do manage to get their they shoot their way into the office. Yeah, two dudes in an office with guns terrorizing people. This is a tough play these days, but I love it.
Day one, he's like, I am a great intern. I'm so happy to have this job. I can afford the apartment I got now. And all of a sudden, these two guys in flannel and a purple suit or a purple shirt
couple
come in
of M16s.
Just murk you to death, kill everyone around. You're like, oh, man, I was really going to get my break.
Yep. Good shit.
Did you notice the tool they're using to find him?
The thing from the Ghostbusters?
Yeah, it's actually the same prop. It's the PKE meter to find ghosts.
I couldn't remember. PKE, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
By the way,
I love that.
Dude, how does Holly Holly's not a lizard.
No.
But she is, because she just executes Frank.
I thought that was the part of it that made me mad about that was kind of an ignominious end, kind of very like, it happens so fast. You're going up the stairs and all of a sudden she's got a hand cannon against his temple and it's gone. I didn't like that.
Not a fan of that.
No.
Yeah, did you think John was going to die in this?
No, I figured it'd be a happy ending and it'd be like he got them all. But there's no real way to end it without him dying, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get the signal. He has to reveal the truth, right? He saves humanity as we know it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe things get worse. Yeah.
No, because I think what he does is he gets shot. He shoots the dish, and the signal dies.
Yep, it was their signal, the transmitter signal.
Yep, the aliens' transmitter signal. So now everyone can see them without the glasses, which kind of would be and remember, they're just like us. They're as fragile as we are. So there's not as many humans, or there's more humans on the planet than there are the aliens. So I think that we'd be able to take them out. Yeah,
I think which is another metaphorical thing that I love, right? Again, it's all about if keeping it's this idea of if they really knew what was going on, right?
Absolutely, and they do. And there's a part in the scene. There's a movie review talking about filmmakers George Romero and John Carpenter.
Yeah,
they're mocking Siskel and Ebert because Siskel and Ebert were always critically hard on John Carpenter films.
Of course, absolutely. Yep, I love it. Good shit. But they're all exposed, and it's great. And of course, the funny ending, the really unenthusiastic tit out ride, it's really unenthusiastic sex.
He's like, that how it is? When I was a kid, I was like, that how it goes? You're high on Quaaludes and you're riding the alien nice and slow.
Taking your time. But I'll tell you, that is a great fucking movie.
Yes, it's so well done. It's
so good, dude.
You got your sci-fi, you got your classic sci-fi where it's very old school with like a mask. You can tell they're masks. It was an homage to old school horror movies.
Absolutely.
The Thing from the Outer Space. That was just a guy wearing a mask with a big head. It was that's what he grew up watching. So it was a little bit of homage of that. The consumerism problem with America in the 80s. John Carpenter nailed it. Absolutely.
Yeah, great movie. I tell you, I there are days where I could say this is his best or my favorite. But usually I'm looking more towards Escape from New York and The Thing. But even Big Trouble, again, I don't know. Yeah. I'm in Halloween. He's such a, And I think we're going to revisit Halloween. I think we're thinking about doing that in October. So that'll
Hell
be fun.
yeah.
Back to Carpenter again. But man, this has been a blast, Scott. I've had such a fun conversation with you. And,
Hell yeah, me too.
And yeah, it's just thought-provoking stuff. It's just great and fun. And that's it. That's all I got. This has been a blast. We are going to see you guys in a week's time. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of They Live. Don't forget to check us out on the web, lsgmedia.net. Follow us on the socials, all that jazz. And please, if you're listening to this, go to YouTube, like and subscribe to this shit, please. It's such a huge help. We're trying to grow that channel over there, and it would just another avenue for discovery for us. Discovery is the big problem with podcasts. There's 100 million podcasts, and we're in probably one of the biggest categories in film and TV. So any help would be appreciated. And that's it. This has been a blast. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for your chime-ins, Maja. We appreciate all of our listeners, and you guys have a wonderful day. See ya.